Hey friends, so this is another episode in which I call it the mini-sode, and I'm doing these because it usually revolves around some sort of topic in which you need to listen to. Not that you want to, but it's a question that's going to propel you into actually start creating a life worth living. So, I also want to say real quick that if you're feeling really confused and you have zero clarity, it's either because A, you're bored with the job that you're doing right now, or B, you can't find your so-called passion. And when these two things happen, it's really hard to continue to keep going. And I get it. So I want to invite you to my Facebook group, Scratching Your Own Itch, in which fitness experts are there, people that have built businesses, authors, really amazing people are in that group. So please head over to that group if you'd like. I'd also love to invite you to hit that subscribe button so anytime an episode comes out, you get noticed. You get a notice, and then you can know what's going on in Scratch Your Own Itch podcast. So, I want to talk to you about this question, and it's I'm just going to say it. It's very important that you answer this question. It's a little morbid, but it's why you need to answer this question or you might die. Here's a little story. So I signed a line once upon a time. Chicken scratched my name, and that was it. I was now officially a member of Cardinal Fitness, right? I was so pumped. I was 120 pounds of skin and bones. I couldn't wait to look like all those guys that you see in the magazines with the rippling abdominals, the bulging biceps, and the brass chest. My first workout program. I saw that in a men's fitness magazine, and I knew exactly that I wanted to get that body. But then I realized that it took some pain, and I needed to learn how to kind of destroy my body. Go through the pain. And that's the big curious question. Which pain are you willing to go through? And what pain are you willing to sustain to get to where you want? That's when I had to shift my way of thinking. And it shifted forever. The raw truth about getting what you want, okay, maybe it's not raw. It could be cooked truth, but a little cooked truth never hurt anyone, especially when it's well prepared. So if I ask you, what do you want out of life? And you say something like, I want to be happy and have a great family and a job I love, a job that I really love. It's so unacceptable. And that's the thing. It might not mean anything to you if you just say what you want. But what if you changed it to perhaps a question you've never considered before, such as, this pain, is this the pain I'm going to go through in order to be tolerable for a while? Seriously, what are you willing to struggle for? Because that seems to be a way better guide to actually creating a life worth living. The reason why people are so fixated on creating a lifestyle brand is because they want freedom, right? Everybody wants their own freedom, their own business, or have an amazing job or financial freedom. But not everyone wants to suffer through the 60-hour work weeks, long commutes, or obnoxious paperwork. People want to be rich without the risk, without sacrifice, without delayed pressure. delayed pleasure in that instance. But gosh dang it, this is all part of it. It's necessary to accumulate wealth. I don't know one person who doesn't want to have a really great relationship without a little bit of those bad days. The thing is those bad days are part of the great relationship. If you didn't have bad days, you wouldn't know what a good day is. So, the potential rejection of feeling like you're not doing it good, you have to go through it. Everybody wants to be a famous actor, but not everyone is willing to get thousands of rejections or be told they're not good enough or they don't fit the character. Everybody wants to be a famous director, but not everybody wants to go through answering all those decisions. Everybody wants to have big muscles. I know I did, but not everyone wants to lift those hefty weights, as Mr. Ronnie Coleman would say. And so they settle. They settle and wonder what if for years and years until the question morphs from what if into what happened? My life just went by. And this is the part that sucks. Happiness requires some struggle. The positive is the side effect, though, that is awesome, and that's the thing. You got to go through it. To be happy means you took some hits. You shed some tears. You did some heavy lifting. You went through some boredom and problem solving. The thing that human behavior is all about is struggle. Our needs are more or less the same. Uplifting experience is easy to handle. What separates the men from the boys or the girls from the ladies? All right, I know that was dumb. But it's negative experience that we all have to go through, by definition, struggle with. Hey, I know I'm far from freaking perfect. And that's part of it. That's the reason why I do this podcast, is because I know I'm far from perfect. I want to share with you my scars, as well as every now and then my triumphs. But you can tell that this podcast is not perfect. You can tell I'm not perfect. But guess what? That doesn't mean you, right now, have to hide any longer because you're not perfect. We actually relate with people that aren't perfect. The thing is, what we get out of life, though, is not based off of good feelings we desire, but by what bad feelings we're willing to experience each and every day to get us to those good feels. All right, let me hit you with some literal examples. People want an amazing physique, right? But you don't end up with one unless you legitimately appreciate the pain and physical stress that comes with living inside of a gym, or the unsatisfactory of never being able to really obtain the physique that you want. Every single time you look in the mirror, it's never good enough. To put on muscle, you have to love eating more than you're used to eating. To lose weight, you're going to have to go through sometimes the hunger pains. Or, as, Fat Bastard would say, get in my belly. Okay, that's enough. I'll stop that. So, the thing is, the one thing that grinds my gears is that, honestly, a lot of cruddy advice out there says, you just gotta want it enough. I don't believe that at all. Everybody wants something, and everybody wants something enough. The big difference, though, is exposing people to experience the pain that gets them to that overall want. And then knowing that no matter how many more wants you do get, you'll desire some more wants. Because if you want the paychecks that buy you mansions, then you have to also want the cost. If you want the beach body, you have to want the sweat, the soreness, the bad body image.
People.
Hey, I got a really quick message to deliver to you. If you're looking to start telling your own story, because honestly, podcasting is one of the best ways to do it, as well as grow your social network. And I'm not talking about just growing your social network, broadening it. I'm talking about putting yourself in contacts with people that cost usually millions and thousands of dollars just to talk to a couple minutes. And they're willing to come on your podcast because they also want to share their story. And they want to instruct people in the right way and not just feel like they're wasting their time because, well, time is finite. It's valuable. So if you need to start your own podcast like soon, please contact me at Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. Again, that's Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. And I'm only taking a few people only because I want to make sure that their message is right. And it's not just starting a podcast because they thought it would be cool, but really starting a podcast in order to create a life worth living and making impact that matters. And sometimes, unfortunately, the bad body image relationship with yourself and also those hunger pains that I was talking about. And I know it sucks, but that's just part of the deal. If you find yourself wanting something year after year, yet nothing happens, and you never come any closer to it, then maybe what you actually want is a fantasy, a dream, an image, and a false promise. Maybe you don't actually want it at all. So I know there's this dying question. You know, that question that I asked above. But a little bit different of a question. How do you choose what to suffer with? Because you have to choose something. You can't have a pain-free life. It can't be all chocolates and Netflix type of television. And ultimately, that's the hard question that matters. Pleasure is an easy option. Formulated in another Greek god-like way of fashion, what pain are you willing to sustain? That answer will actually get you somewhere. It's the question that can change your life. It's what makes me, and you. It's what defines us and separates us and ultimately brings us together. At that moment, that moment when you're right there and you can see it. See, the thing is, I'm putting acting on the back burner. Why? Because honestly, I fantasized about being an actor, a celebrity in particular. I fantasized on being that face that was on that awesome billboard, or being the face that was on the bus going by, or girls saying, "That's Logan Tyler Nelson." That fantasy was the thing that I wanted. And then reality hit. Auditions didn't pay money. Auditions didn't fill me up with meaning. I didn't like waiting around for another person to judge me and tell me that I'm not good for this job. I didn't like spending hours memorizing sides only to be told, you should come back and try again next year. Despite fantasizing about all this for several years, the reality never came. And it took me a long time and a lot of negative experience to finally figure out why. I didn't actually want it. I didn't actually want the acting. Maybe I will one day. Maybe it'll be an itch that I just have to scratch later on. But the thing is, I like creative authority. I love creative authority. And I'm willing to give myself the pain of being alone quite a bit for creative authority. To make this podcast whenever I want. To make a YouTube video whenever I want. To go on Facebook Live whenever I want. I know it sounds like I'm just doing things for me, but at the same time, it's not quite the fantasy life. But the thing is, we all fall into this. Unfortunately, we all do. We fall in love with doing things we want to do. But there's always still a pain point in there. And sometimes we can fall victim to being in love with the result and the image of being in a certain light, like I was with being on billboards, or with women's jaws dropping at seeing me in real life and pouring their hearts out and ripping open in their chest and going, sign my you know what. And because of that, I failed at acting. And it's hard to admit that, but that's the truth. I failed at acting. And that's really hard to swallow, and to take in that realization that the only reason why I really failed is because I stopped. See, our culture would tell me that I'm a quitter. I'm a loser. Some self-help guru would probably say that I wasn't courageous enough, motivated enough, or I didn't believe in myself enough. The entrepreneurial startup guy would probably tell me that I'm a chicken shit and I didn't risk enough. And I'd be told to do affirmations or join another class and spend more money on another acting class and go for it. Which is totally cool for those who really, really want to go through the pain of being rejected like that. Or go through the patience of waiting for the next audition. The next phone call that tells you, hey, your life has changed because you're now casted in the Spider-Man movie. The truth is, again, cooked truth, is that I'm far less interested in possibly making a good movie. Possibly making it on Broadway. It turns out that acting will still be there if I decide to pursue it later. For now, I'm lucky to just have an outlet like this. To talk to you right now. I feel very fortunate to be picking the brains of people that I look up to and making a relationship with them. And I get to do this by just the efforts that I put into. But it's not all roses. The technology portion can really drive you nuts. And I also love writing, though. I love the writing portion. That, too, can also be really hard, too, though. The pain that I have to go through, sometimes with just guilt that, piles up more and more and more when you're not creating. And honestly, becomes so addicting that when you're not doing it, it does feel like you're dying when you're not creating. And I know you're out there listening to this, wanting to create right now, but instead you consume, and that too is addicting. And you can feel guilt. I want to let you know you're not alone. But guess what? I have good news. You are defined by the values you are willing to struggle for. People who enjoy the struggles of a gym are the ones who get in good shape. People who enjoy the long work weeks. Also, guess what? We'll climb up the corporate ladder and move up to the corporate world and be CEOs or CFOs. People who enjoy stresses and uncertainty of the starving artist lifestyle are ultimately the ones who live it and make it. But sometimes they're not held accountable, which is why I actually did open up that Face group. I want that Facebook group to hold you accountable, to get you the answers that you need. And also, this is going to take some uncomfortability. This is not a call for willpower or grit. This is not another counseling of no pain, no gain. This is just the most simple and basic component of life. Our struggles determine our successes. So choose your struggles wisely, my friend. Instead of asking yourself, what do I want? Ask yourself, what pain in life, true sweat equity, am I willing to endure? If it's sore muscles, it's probably bodybuilding. If it's tedious editing, could be writing. If it's patience, waiting in the waiting room, over and over and over in the audition room, it could be acting. If it's taking food and drink orders from rude high-class people with fat wallets, and I'm totally generalizing right now because not all rich people are jerks, but it might be just bartending or serving for the time being. Overall, though, pick the pain that you want to sustain, and don't ever forget, if it itches, scratch it. And please leave a review and let me know how you like this episode. If you like these mini episodes, just let me know. And you can always reach me at Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. Again, that's Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. And I would love to have you a part of Scratching Your Own Itch community. And don't ever forget, you matter and you're enough.